Sean Campus. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. It's 6:30 here on the West Coast, but probably 9:30 for everybody on the East Coast. Today, I want to talk about four cores and spiritual connection. So, in therapy, when somebody first starts with me, there's four things that I check in with them about because I know that they're necessary for us doing whatever we're doing. So, we could talk about the specifics of somebody's hardship, like are you going through relationship problems? Are you having anxiety? Are you going through depression? Those are usually the top ones, or loss or grief. So are you going through those things? And whatever it is that you're going through, we're going to get to that, but we need to have a baseline that we need to be working on. And the baseline is one is you need to be um, eating proactively, right? You need to make sure that you are eating on time. So that's the eating concept. I don't try to script what you eat, but I do think it's important that you are on time with your eating and um, that you are more proactive, right? Because if you're reactive, then you probably won't be eating the things that are going to be good for your body. All right, then sleeping. So I think that there are certain times that we need to be sleeping. One in how much. So usually 6 to 8 hours, and everybody's a little bit different, but we need to work towards that. So if there are things that are getting in your way of being able to sleep, we're going to slowly work on those things to get that in order. Um, and that's for adults at 6 to 8 hours, and then when you're sleeping is important as well. And so um, we try to mess around with that a little bit, but I know that sometimes people have jobs and those kinds of things, and it stops them from being able to get sleep in ideal times. But I mean, ideally, that whenever it's dark, our body is going to go to sleep best and get the best kind of sleep. And so we try to, you know, get our bedtime to be earlier, and then our wake up time is whenever our body's done sleeping. So it's not like a hard fast with these cores. It's not like, oh, you have to do this situation specifically, but these are kind of the parameters that I know will be useful for you. Um, and then the third thing is eating, sleeping, is being able to exercise. And so I used to say, um, you know, some kind of physical exertion, because the idea is that you are not just sitting, that you're not just sleeping all day, I guess, or relaxing all day. You need to be able to somehow get some movement and activity in. Um, so I used to say physical exertion, but I think it's okay to be in the mindset of like, let me make sure I exercise 3 to 4 times, a week. And if you could do like 20 minutes of 3 days of really rigorous exercise, then that'd be ideal. Most of us can't do that rigorous of a exercise for that long. Um, so you spread it out and you kind of think like, well, let's say I'm walking. Well, I know I'm walking, and maybe if I can get that in 7 days a week, it gets closer to the equivalent of 3 rigorous days of exercise. And so you try to measure it, so that you're thinking of it like, I need 3 days that would be like really strenuous. Okay. And then here's the fourth one. The fourth one is spiritual connection. And usually I always get the question like, what is spiritual connection? And again, I don't script it. I think that um, one thing I don't want to get it confused with is that I'm saying that you need to have a religion, because I don't think that you need to have a religion. But I do think that there's a different piece of us that we're not tapping into a lot of times, especially when there's hardship. And the reason that is because the hardships that are outside of us, we get so consumed with how to do those situations that we forget that there's a different level to us, and an important level to us, right? And so you have things that are operating inside of you that are going to be really useful, like faith and hope, um, I would even go as far as to say that hurt is probably some sense of spirit being. Um, I know that there are a lot of things that happen in this world, like money is a big one for a lot of people, and it is a spiritual resource. And so, conversations, interactions, there's a lot of things around us that will help us to be better in these situations, or get better in hardship situations that we're disconnected from because we're not looking at our spiritual connection. And I want to go over something that I've been studying recently, and in no way am I trying to impose a religion on you, but um, I do read the Bible, and so in reading the Bible, like there's some interesting discoveries that happen, right? Um, so I'll try to do this within 10-15 minutes to finish this part up, but I think it will help you have some kind of direction. So over and over again, the theme of the Bible, as I'm reading it, is um, and this doesn't matter what you believe. This is just the theme of the Bible, okay? And so don't get hung up on things, but allow this to be useful to you. Over and over again, the theme of the Bible is God says, "Here's a way," right? And then at some rate, those people see that way, then they get challenged to have a different way, and they go that way, right? And so it happens over and over again. Here's a way, and then there's a challenge that says, no, that's not going to be the right way. You got to go a different way. And the challenge comes from the outside. Remember, there's opposites. So in this case, in the Bible, it's Satan. And so when that happens, those people keep losing out or cause themselves harm, right? Because they choose the opposite of the thing that was given to them. And so in the beginning, the challenge was that in the beginning of the Bible, the challenge was that God would be the keeper of good and evil, um, and then they can take from that tree, the tree of life, right? But then there was one tree that said, like, basically that you would be the decider as a person, like that you're going to be the decider of what goes on, whether it's good or bad. And they decided to take that tree, right? Because they wanted to be the deciders of what was going on, of good or bad. And once that happened, it caused them to die, because it's not just up to our flesh or being or thought process that helps us to decide the right way to go. So, what is the right way to go? Well, that's why our fourth core is spiritual connection. You have to pay more attention to what's going on with you spiritually in order for you to be successful in life, right? You can't pay attention to the hardship that's outside of you, because sometimes some of the hardships that we have, when we're embedded in them, they're not meant for our goodness, and there won't be any goodness that comes out of them, right? If we pay more attention to our spiritual connection, what we'll understand is that the hardships that we have help us to reveal more of who we are at our cores, right? So you can't get that if you're only paying attention to the hardship. You only can get that if you're paying more attention to spirituality and the deeper versions of you. I would say even the higher versions of you, right? So it's so useful for us to enter into some kind of spiritual connection. Like I was telling you earlier, I read the Bible. That's one for me. But it could be something like being able to meditate as a starting point to it. I don't think that's the absolute. I think when you get there, you're going to start finding more about yourself, and then it's going to lead you somewhere else. Understanding and becoming more familiar with your faith and your hope, right? Like, those are things that are underneath that can't really be, they can't really be messed with. Like the more that you enact that spiritual connection, the less the hardship that's outside of you is going to remove your peace. And so I've told people this in the past, and They reject the idea that in a hardship you can have peace. Um, and I get why people reject it, but I know that it's also because that we're missing that fourth core, which is, having that spiritual connection. There isn't a hardship that becomes too big for you because you understand some things in spiritual connection that you won't understand without it. Okay. So that's actually a master key. If spiritual connection automatically makes you go, oh, like I can't do that. If it does that, um, I would say check out your life. Like if things are going well, you probably are accidentally doing it anyways, right? Um, you're probably searching in some other way, or being able to connect another way. Um, if things are not going well, though, see what's missing. See what's missing, and maybe you can go to the other three cores first and put those in place and see how things go, and then come back and put the spiritual connection in if things haven't completely changed around for you. Okay, and so it's not a matter of doing away with hardship; it's a matter of creating the peace when hardship is in there, and that is totally something that's possible. It's something that I'm teaching you right now to be able to do, um, if you be willing to try it. And so the last thing I'll say about that is don't be on a quest to keep things in your life that aren't good for you. Right? If something is true, be on a quest to have that. What's the purpose of having things or doing away with things just in the idea of I don't like it, right? That's not a good way to live. That's not going to bring you anything ultimately in life. You can't just say like, well, I guess you could say it, but it's not going to be beneficial for you to say like, um, I hate cars, so I'm never driving one, right? Like it's fine that you hate cars, but let's look into that. Maybe there's an electric car that's different than what you used to know cars to be, right? And I would say the same thing with spiritual connection. Don't just throw it out because it's been bad at some point in time in your life. Allow your ability to be better and your ability to seek what's true for you to be more important than having the idea of these things work or these things don't work, right? Be always have an open mind about being willing to grow and get better. All right, you guys, enjoy your Tuesday, and we will talk to you soon.